Graders. Today we're going to talk about sculpture because we're going to make something out of clay. So what is a sculpture anyway? Think about what that would be. What do you imagine a sculpture to be in art? I'm going to let you think about that for a little while, and then I will talk about what a sculpture actually is. When I was your age, for sure, when I would picture a sculpture, I used to picture like a statue that was carved out of rock or maybe made out of clay. But what I found out as I've gotten older now, that sculpture is so much more than that. So, really, a sculpture in art is any artwork that is 3D or three dimensional. And what does three dimensional mean? It means that it has more than one side. So when you are making a drawing or a painting, those are two-dimensional. That means it only has one side that you're focused on, just the front. And with a sculpture, there's more than one side. You can see a front and you can see a top or one side or the other side. So it means that you can see more than just the front of the piece. So a sculpture is any artwork that's 3D and it can be made out of so many things. So here's some sculpture examples. This one is from 1300 years ago. Oh my goodness, that's a long time ago now. These are the heads on Easter Island, and they were made out of rock. So people would either move the rock or they would leave it in place and they would carve into the rock and make these huge heads. This sculpture down over here is made of recycled plastic. So this artist takes plastic and melts it so you can and then makes a sculpture out of it. And you can see that this running horse, this artist is capturing action. This running horse is then attached to the wall and is also attached down over here. And there's more than one side to this. You can't walk all the way around this one, but you can walk around most of the sides. Otherwise, you'd run into the wall or you'd break it off the wall. This one you can walk all the way around. This artwork is blown glass, and it's made by Dale Chihuly, who is still alive and making glass art in the United States now. He blows glass. It's a dangerous process, but he's gotten really good at it over the years, and he likes to make all different kinds of glass sculptures. This one happens to be like in a boat, and you can see a reflection. And this is kind of a funny idea. This coin is also a sculpture. So even though this metal is pretty flat, the artist has carved into it and you can see a top, and this nose goes up and then down and back up again. So this would be called a low relief sculpture. So a sculpture that's pretty flat, but has just a little bit an up and down on it. So sculptures can be that you can walk all the way around, you can walk around a lot, or it's pretty flat and you just have little ups and downs in it. So that's all the ideas. And this is made out of metal. So sculptures can also be made out of all different kinds of materials, just about anything, really. What you'll be making is a clay leaf. If you're an in-class learner, a hybrid learner, you'll come to class and you'll get the clay and make a clay leaf. If you're an at-home learner, you're welcome to come to school and pick up the clay, and you can sure make this at home and then deliver it back to me, and I will help finish it off for you. So we're going to be making a clay leaf. This is what clay is not, just so you know. We're going to talk about what clay is in a little bit, but this is what clay is not. Clay is not Play-Doh. Play-Doh is mostly made out of like flour, like the flour that you would eat, but you can't eat Play-Doh. It's got a bunch of other stuff in it that you definitely don't want to eat. And this is great for working at home. It's smart for your hands and it's smart for your brains. I love Play-Doh. Modeling clay is mostly made out of soft wax, and you can buy these at stores. And then it doesn't really ever harden. You can just make something and you can leave it there. And if you want to make something else out of it later, you can just take it and roll it up into a ball and make another sculpture, which is kind of cool. And then there's other kinds of clays, like this is Fimo clay, and that's a kind of clay where you would make things out of, and then you'd actually bake them in your own oven. And when you bake them in your oven, they become hard because the pieces kind of melt together. So these are all different kinds of really good clay that's safe and fun for you to work with at home. This is what the clay is from the classroom. This clay is called earthenware because it comes from the earth. It's called earthenware. So what happens is a big bulldozer will go and take out big chunks of clay, and then it's usually really, really dry, and they bring it to a machine called a pug mill, and it mixes the dried hard clay with water. And when it comes to Mrs. Samala's classroom in a plastic bag like this, it's really soft and fun to work with. It's very easy to work with. When it's soft like this, we call it the wetware stage, so we can work with it. So what clay actually is, it's the smallest rock. So if you take clay, or if you take any kind of rock, and you break it down, you'll break it down smaller and it becomes pebbles. It's actually like a scientific word for a size of a rock. If you take pebbles and you break them down even smaller, they turn into sand. And most of us have played with sand before in sand boxes, sand tables, or down at the beach where you can make sand castles. And you know that sand feels kind of rough and gritty on your hands. Then, if you take down sand and you smush those little teeny tiny rocks even smaller, because sand is teeny tiny rocks, you break them down even smaller, you get what's called silt. And you'll find silt on river bottoms often. And usually it kind of feels like mud, except there's like little hard chunks in it often with silt, but mostly it's kind of like it feels muddy. If you take silt, those little teeny tiny silt rocks, and you break them down even further, you get clay. So that's the tiniest rock that you can find on clay. It's so tiny, you can't even see it. It's not as small as a germ, but it's so tiny, the rocks, that you can't even see it. And so you need a microscope to see it with. That's how tiny it is. It's shocking. So clay is any kind of rock: white rock, black rock, red rock, orange rock, yellow rock. That's just been crushed to the tiniest, tiniest amount ever and mixed with water. That's what clay is. Now that we know what clay is, I'll take a look at how we're going to make this. So what you're going to do is take your slab that Mrs. Samla gives you, and we're going to roll it out a little bit here to get a nice even thickness. So you want to get a nice even thickness of clay all the way around, not skinny on one side and wide on the other. It's just nice and even all the way. Then you're going to take a leaf, whether you want a maple leaf or an oak leaf, and you're going to trace it with a pencil. And then you can go and take a knife, not a scary sharp knife, but a fettling knife. They're just special knives that I have in the classroom. It's like a butter knife, and it's pretty easy to cut with clay. Or you can take like a pokey stick and you can poke it all down all the way through, and you can go ahead and cut it out so it looks like this. So that kind of looks like a leaf, but we need to do some decorating and smoothing. So what I did is I smoothed out all those edges, made them a little bit nicer, and then I bent up the leaf around the edges like this so it kind of curves up on the edges. And then I took a tool and I gently, not deeply, but I gently carved into that, and to get the veins of the leaf, so you can see the veins in the leaf over here. You can see the veins in the leaf in there, and then it looks more like a leaf, and then you can have a leaf dish. So cool. And that's all I have to share with you right now. We can go about making our leaves in the next video or in class. It's fun watching you or being with you, friends. Thanks. Bye.